Is that working?
That was the previous one.
We're working now? It all looks deep.
Nothing at the moment. Does it look live to you?
Yeah? And it's responding to microphone.
Yep.
That's the previous one. Ah,
Is it on?
yep, done. I think. Okay. Good evening, councillors. Welcome to this evening's meeting of Finance and General Purposes Committee on, what's today's date? Wednesday the 18th of February. Could I first of all ask for any apologies, Town Clerk?
Yes, we've got Councillor Breen, Councillor Breen, personal commitment, Councillor Ungerson, personal commitment, but she's been substituted for by Councillor Fortescue. Then we have Councillors Carter, D and P Carter, personal commitments, and Councillor Marie will be arriving late, he has work commitments.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of disclosable pecuniary interest from members in respect of business to be transacted on the agenda. Does anybody have any? No? We could move on. Just make sure that's working. Checking on the recording, it may not do that. Okay, and we're moving on to the next item, which is agenda item 3, and that's the minutes of the Finance and General Purposes Committee meeting that was held on the 21st of January. Does anybody have any comments that they want to make on those minutes? And if not, would somebody like to propose them?
I'll propose it.
Councillor Black has proposed. Councillor Wiles has seconded. Councillor Fortescue and Councillor Pennington, could you vote? You're happy to accept, I'm happy to accept. So one abstention. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to agenda item 4, and that's public participation, 20-minute session put aside if anybody has requested to speak. Has anybody requested?
No.
No? Okay, moving on. And now we move on to the payment schedules and finance reports, agenda item 5. What we've been asked to receive and approve the Sandwich Town Council payment schedule for the end of January 2026. Any comments on that from anybody? And if not, I'm happy to propose. Is anybody happy to second? Councillor Black, vote on those. That's unanimous. Thank you. Second one is to receive and approve the STC bank account reconciled statement for December 2025. Any comments on that? No? Somebody have to propose? Councillor Pennington, possibly? Yes. And Councillor Fortescue has seconded it. We'll vote on that. That's unanimous. And thirdly, to receive and approve the STC cash book statement for December 2025. Again, inviting comments. And if not, would somebody like to propose? Councillor Fortescue seconding. Councillor Black. And the vote, that's unanimous. Thank you. All right. And finally, to receive and approve the STC budget variance report for the year to December 2025. Again, any comments on that? I'm happy to propose. The various reports. Councillor Wiles has seconded it. Like to vote, that's unanimous as well. Thank you. Okay. Agenda item 6, and that's priorities, terms of reference status and action log for F&Gp committee, reset and update. So firstly, we've been asked to receive the action log. I'll take any comments on that, but I just wanted to pick out a couple myself. Firstly, terms of reference, third one down, that's about managing all physical assets. It referred to a meeting regards the sandwich agreement with DDC. A number of us in the room actually attended that meeting, and we're awaiting a proposal in writing from David Parish, DDC Head of Assets. So once we receive that, it will then inform what we do next. Okay. Next one I had to comment on was FGP 07258, and that was waiting budget confirmation, which we've had, and that was Boatman's Hill Chapel, restrictive covenant and incorrect title. I was going to ask for a request update from the next meeting, but on the basis the property manager's here, he might have an update now, but if not, could we have one at the next meeting?
Well, I'll give you a further update now.
Yes.
I asked if we could have the funds before or previously to get it changed, and I don't think there was support to for the legal fees to have it done.
Mm-hmm.
I do have the title, the land certificate, I should say, and I can do that. I can do that myself. So
Okay.
we will have to pay just a fee for most people. I can have that registered. So
Okay. So
so I'll do all that, but it'll be something that will be done.
in due course.
It will be, yeah, but I'll do it myself.
Yeah. So it was an action. We can leave it as an open action.
Yes.
Couple of months.
A couple of months would be fine. Yeah.
Okay, we could defer that. So that will be target date will be the end of April.
Does that mean the restrictive covenant is?
No, that wouldn't mean me doing that. No, that just means that the title will be in the correct name.
Yeah.
The negotiation would be through the beneficiary of that, which would be DDC. So they would negotiate on that side, and I went through about 16, 17 months ago. The process on that is you value it as it is, you value it with the restriction removed, there's a difference, and it's a percentage of the difference. So there was a lot of support for it when I put it forward before.
So can you refresh my memory in terms of the covenant, what the restrictions are on it? Is it
Yeah, it can
about
only be
usage?
used as a chapel.
Usage,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question is whether we as a council want to consider it for a broader use, and therefore that would mean
That's what I was trying to attempt.
yeah.
So we would have to pay the difference in value between use
A percentage of the difference in value.
and some other commercial use.
Yes, exactly. So it's the difference in value. It's not the total amount. It's a percentage of the uplift.
So again, could I ask? If that's
Yes,
okay, maybe in 2 months,
Yes.
when you report back against what you're doing,
Yes.
could you also, again, and it might only be about pulling something out for you to put into a drawer to remind us on what we need to decide, and then we can have it as an action. I think if the consideration by the council is we should lift the restriction,
Yes.
if that's it, then at least we can get that logged as an action,
Yes.
and then at an appropriate point, which might be 12 months from now, seek the money to support.
Yes.
Because I assume it won't be massively cheap to engage a solicitor to get the covenants changed.
No. I mean, if you get the support of DDC, obviously I got on well with Nicola. She knew about it. They got confused. There was so much happening.
Yes.
They thought we were tenants.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So we were tenants wanting the change of use. So it did get a bit complex, but I had spoken to her about it. So that's the route really, is to agree.
So playing it back to what she said, yes, okay, I understand now what the
Yes.
issue is, but if you want to move it to a broader usage, you will have to pay a value to DDC that represents the lifting of it. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be a percentage. I won't say what percentage. It's a negotiable percentage. Between the two.
It's a difficult building for other purposes in any case, so we'd have to be careful. We wouldn't just dive in and pay a sum that actually doesn't then realise something else beyond that.
That is always that is always the risk. Although storage is extremely used for perhaps, you know, an art studio. And I know there's been a lot of chapels where a change of use has taken place.
Yeah.
It's very popular down in Cornwall area where you you know, get a change of use and repurpose it.
Yeah, the one issue is about actual vehicular access.
This is it. That is one of the factors. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Would the rates change? I mean, a chapel presumably doesn't pay rates.
No, it doesn't.
But if it was used, for example, for storage,
Yes.
you would have to pay.
Yes, you pay business rates about £3,500 a year.
Well, that's quite an important consideration.
It's a very good point, because actually, and that's back to my point about if we just plough on and just get we need to remove the covenants.
Yeah.
If we don't realise income from it, then it becomes a drain.
Yes.
Resources.
Of course, it's SDC and not SDBF. If it was SDBF, you take a different view perhaps because you wouldn't have to pay business rates at that sort of level. So,
thank you. Okay. Any other comments on any of the actions? If not, we've been asked to receive the log.
Do you know if Councillor Marie has raised the?
Well, he has, and he did feed it back to me verbally. He had a conversation with the Rotary Club. My personal view is I'm not sure what we're trying to achieve with this, because back to the point, it's a very thin strip of land. I'm not, at a time in the past, it might have been part of a wider challenge about what was happening in that area. I'm not sure what we would want to achieve from it. So we certainly don't own it. The ownership is not clear. And if we wanted to do it, we've already had legal advice under the previous administration, which was it might not be easy to prove title to it.
It's only worth pursuing if it's a ransom strip for the development. And I'm not clear what happens with that house and what they've done with that site.
Yeah, they've already
Access.
they've already got access, haven't they, through the site. Okay, so
Keep it on the back burner.
yeah. Well, I'll look at it next time. I might be able to close it. Any other comments? If not, I'm happy to propose we receive the action log. Some seconds, Councillor Fortescue. Thank you very much. And then do we have any updates on any other items within the action log from officers?
no.
That's fine. Okay. Moving on to agenda item 7. And this is the budget year-end variance analysis that has been undertaken by the finance officer. We've been asked to receive a report on the likely year-end on staffing and other figures. So can I first of all record thanks to the finance officer for giving a very detailed explanation of where things are. So if that could be noted in the minutes, that'd be really helpful. But I'll open it up for comments. Councillor Black is keen, I can see out corner item, to say something.
Is this the first time we've received one? Because I don't recall them in previous years.
We haven't.
We haven't. I think it's a significant improvement, and I think we should be very welcoming to this, because it gives a much better figure rather than trying to plough through. I welcome it, and we've done something similar for STB here. And I welcome it. I think we should welcome it.
Yeah, and it was triggered by us asking for it.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's one of the changes we need to
and
know.
I agree. I mean, the headline was the confidence that the overall position is favourable.
Yes.
And reserves are growing, which all sounds brilliant, but we won't get the nuts and bolts until the year end.
It's full of caveats.
Yes, it is, certainly. You happy to vote to receive it? That's Councillor Pennington. Councillor Black,
I'll
second.
second it now.
Thank you very much, that's unanimous. Right, so agenda item 8, and that's the interim audit results. Members to receive the interim audit, which is carried out on the 15th of January 26. If we do that first, before we look at the risk logs, so I'm just trying to see, I've made a few annotations myself. So that's fine. Yeah, so I'll actually ask the clerk whether you want to plan any points. I mean, the update is fairly clear to me, but is there anything that you want to mention?
Not really. I mean, I think we're on top of it. I'm not worried about the year end. To be honest, I think things town clerk Jill Gray had everything, was on top of everything, so
Yeah.
I just sort of carried over. The risk register is one thing,
We'll come on to that.
which we'll get on to. The bank and cash has been sorted, the VAT has been sorted, so the only thing which is for discussion is the financial regulations, to make sure that, that for the year going forward, I don't think, it's not something that we're going to fail the audit on,
Mhm.
but it's not as it should be, for going forward, and we need to have the financial regs and the practices aligning, which we just need to make sure that that's the case and that they are and that they are fit, and that they are smooth. Anyway, so the financial regs is really the only thing that needs to be thought about,
Okay,
and the risk register.
but again, you're confident that both that and risk register, which we will come on to, can be accommodated within the timescale in time. for
Yes, the only
audit.
other thing is the IT policy, which
Yes,
I have recirculated, and that really, we've made a couple of changes to
Yes.
sort of
Yeah.
make it fit.
Yes.
But that really does have to be voted
and we've got it out on
On-
the next.
on Monday, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll have to have an EGM to re-review it, to get it through, by the end of March, otherwise
Yeah.
we will fail on section 10 of the internal.
Yeah, I think sometimes with the IT policy, sometimes it's about
Well,
maybe being too.
Yeah, what the internal auditor said was that this year they want to have it in place, and
Yeah.
that next year they will start to be checking that we are meeting compliance. So
Yeah.
because it's a new, section 10 is new, so this year they want to see that all councils have got a policy in place,
Mhm.
and next year they'll be looking at compliance to the IT policy.
Good. Any other comments? If not, I've just got one. No. So on number 4, bank and cash, the red response, the RFO and councillor. So is that a generic councillor as opposed to a specific
No,
councillor?
we have one specific councillor
Yes,
who
we do.
comes in monthly.
Councillor Green.
Yes, councillor Green comes
So
in.
could that be added in?
Yeah, I can change that, yeah.
Because I wasn't sure, so, yeah.
Yes, so, it's just making sure that, the council signs off the bank statement.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to propose that we receive the interim audit and its comments. Councillor Black has
I'll do it all.
seconded, sorry,
I was happy to refer to councillor Black.
and that's unanimous as well, thank you.
Sorry, so proposed councillor Black?
No, I propose,
Okay.
councillor Black seconded, and unanimous votes. Now, the risk register, so we probably need a little bit of on this. I've got some comments, but I'm happy to let councillor Black, who's just huffed.
No, just because I huffed, does not mean anything.
I've got lots of comments on it. Anybody else with comments on the risk register?
We did have a risk.
We did,
Yeah.
we did.
I couldn't find it.
That was my question. I mean, we certainly had a long.
We did.
I suspect this is a bit longer.
It is.
Yeah.
Much longer.
Well, yes,
Yeah. We had one like 2 years ago. 3 years ago.
two.
Because I did a lot of work on it, which somehow it got put somewhere. Anyway, but this one reads well.
I
but-
started from scratch, basically. I took some of the stuff that you had, and
Yeah.
then I took, some, sort of a pro forma that had been given to me by the internal auditor to meet the needs to pass the audit. And
Yeah.
so it's a sort of a smush of those two documents. And then obviously I went through it all and thought about the reality of life in Sandwich, basically, the on the ground
Okay.
of Sandwich.
So just a general comment from me is that it's fine having something stated on the risk register, but it needs to be done. So that will reflect on some of the comments I now make. So number 1, non-property assets. Do you want to open it up?
Yeah, let's have a look. Actually, Councillor Pennington, could I have it back? Risk register, I think it's much better if I use these paper. I can scribble on it. Thank you.
I'll share it with me.
Okay, so the first one, the last sentence, valuable assets are kept in the museum and assigned in and out of the museum. Well, that hasn't been happening, so if it can be done from now on.
There is now a book
Okay.
in place for that to
So
happen.
that will happen from now on?
Yes.
Because I'm obviously going to be one of the main culprits in terms of taking
Yes.
stuff from the
No,
museum.
we have got a book in
Yeah.
place. You have currently got
I have,
the,
yes, I can't sign it out, but I can sign it back in.
you know, it is signed out to you at the moment.
Fantastic, okay.
Are these STC assets or STBF?
That's DDF, I think.
Well, chains are STC assets. The mayor's chains are STC assets, but they happen to be in the museum. Which is
The
generally
image
in
of this for STBF is a risk register. Do we have a risk?
We would need one. We should have one.
Because archives and
Yeah,
collection.
The museum has a risk register, so that I think probably,
Yeah.
I think that probably is most of that. This is particularly STC compliance.
Yeah, I have asked to borrow certain assets from the archives in the past, and I was told it would need to be signed out,
Yeah.
so the system was working.
Okay. Allotments, STC conducts quarterly meetings with allotment reps to ensure any maintenance issues are swiftly addressed. I'm not entirely sure how consistently they've been done, but I do know you've got one coming up in
I've
March.
got them in the diary for every
Fantastic.
3 months.
Good.
Yeah, I'm not sure about on the safe. I mean, the main risk is lack of demand, I would have thought.
I've got all but 2 allotments full and
Yeah,
8
but, you
or
know,
10.
suddenly people didn't want allotments, then we have an empty site.
Well, we don't currently.
Is it a risk? It's not a risk at the moment.
Anything that might happen is a risk.
Okay, well,
What do you mean by unsafe?
well, I was thinking more in terms of maintenance. So, you know, things that are, you know, there's metal and all sorts in it, you know, in an allotment, making sure that we're on top of maintenance and security and all of those things. You know, we had a water standpipe put up at Sandown Lane, and the contractor had to go back because there was a nail out, you know, and that would have been rusty and, you know, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Are you okay with that, or should we revise the wording slightly?
Maybe tweak it.
So allotments may not be tended to correctly.
Demand may fall, or, you know, just wrap it up in one big sentence.
The only other thing, I don't know if this is covered by this, is COSH. Because there can be some nasty chemicals around, and I don't know what the practice, you're an allotment holder, I think, aren't you?
There are people who use chemicals.
And I think that should be mentioned.
Well, I've redone the risk register. I did put something in because of an email we received, and I want to put in updating the terms and conditions in May.
Right.
So I think we can address all of that there.
Good. Okay, moving on to number 4. It was just a question, is this being maintained? So each time an asset is purchased, the RFO adds it to the asset register. Is that happening?
Yes.
Good, tick. Number 6, business continuity, consequential loss. The file with key passwords will be shared with the mayor. That will be happening.
Yeah,
Yes,
it will
because it hasn't happened yet.
No, I know.
Okay,
It's on the list.
yeah, sorry.
Post-it notes.
Yeah, well, maybe. Okay, so that's that.
It will be very, very much the key. Not you know, I'll give you sort of 8 or 10 passwords.
No,
but,
okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be
As long as it's
massive.
fit for purpose, that's fine,
Yeah.
yeah. Number 9, staff. In the event the clerk becomes ill or resigns, council will be required to employ a local clerk or RFO. Well, they wouldn't, because if it's the clerk who becomes ill, we would be required to employ a local clerk, because we've got split roles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Clerk or RFO.
So we'll take out all RFO. Yeah?
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Or add in clerk or RFO.
Oh, we'll do it that way, yes.
That would be better.
Although, is the council required by law to employ an RFO?
They're required to employ a proper officer who's in charge of the finances. So in our circumstance, we would need to have a proper officer who's in charge of the finances.
Okay.
Unless we manage to have a locum clerk who's super whizzy.
Okay, so I think we need to just look again at that risk entry
Yeah,
in
okay.
terms of what it's trying to tell us.
In the past, of course, we had a deputy clerk, and that, thing, at the moment, we don't have a deputy. It's
We have an assistant clerk, is there?
assistant clerk, which is very important, but if at times we do get a deputy, that's the answer, isn't it?
When we appointed an assistant clerk, one of the rationales was that they could step up in the event of absence or illness.
Right. Required to provide cover. If I take out locum clerk,
Yes.
Yes, that would be better,
Okay.
and that gives it.
Because in the short term,
flexibility.
yeah, short term, we wouldn't necessarily go out to the market and employ extra paid
We bring
resource.
someone in lower down and then
Yeah.
they step up.
Okay, moving on to 22, online banking payments. It says one of the two signatories to reconcile the bank statements with invoices and initial them each month.
that's all part of the financial regs.
Yeah, can this be staff? Right, okay, so can this be staff or should it be councillors that do that?
That's the point of reviewing the financial regs, is to enable one of the two signatories, one of the releases of the cash to be a staff member.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
the staff member can then do the tally between the invoice and the number that the bank details that it's going to,
Okay,
which
okay,
would be an improvement in risk mitigation.
okay. But the next one, 23, just says small typo, services rather than serif.
Ooh.
And that might be it. Yeah, there were my comments. Thank you. Anything else? If not, are we happy to, we've reviewed it?
It's going to go up to STC.
Yes. So I'd like to propose that once you've made those couple of minor alterations, that it goes forward to STC. Is anybody happy to second that? Councillor Pennington. And that's approved, okay. And the third part under agenda item 8, members to consider in principle proposal to the payments change in the financial regulations. Do you want to articulate what we're actually going to agree to?
Well, it has to go to STC in May, but if the finance committee thinks it's, well, for the standing orders,
Okay.
reviewing the financial regs, but if the finance committee think it's a rubbish idea, then there's no point in wasting our time, taking it to the full council, really. Basically, at the moment, two councillors, payments are authorised either by the committee or by up to 3,000, just the clerk, 5,000 clerk and chair, 10,000 by the committee, after 10,000 by full STC. So that's the approving of the payments, but that is different from the release of funds.
Yes.
Now, at the moment, the council has two councillors who are signatories on bank line who release the funds. Now, there's nothing in the financial regs that say that we have to do it that way.
Yeah.
It's what we have to be sure of is that we have significant, sufficient risk mitigation, and that we're doing something that is sort of suitable for the size and the scale of the work that the council does.
Yeah.
So, talking to the interim audit, he said that certain councils our size just have staff members releasing the payments. I don't think that that's right for Sandwich Town Council at this point in Sandwich Town Council's life. However, I do think it might release the burden on the finance officer and on councillors, because there do seem to be struggles with Bankline, and if we could have a pool of councillors who were all, we could agree in the financial regs in May, all able to release payments.
Yeah.
Firstly, that would remove the need to nominate 2 councillors at each STC meeting, which would be a little bit of admin that we could all do without.
Yeah.
And then the other amendment that we could make is to say, instead of having 2 councillors releasing the payments, you could have 1 staff member and 1 councillor. So there would still always be the councillor having the final release of the funds, because nothing could be done without 2 people, one of whom would be a councillor. But the big benefit would be that the staff member would have because you guys do the bank line releasing from home, basically.
Mhm.
So the staff member would be in the office and could look at the list and look at the invoices and say, yes, it is going to that bank account and sort code, and it matches the bank account and sort code on the invoice, and then squiggle their initials on it, so that is a check, a further check in the system to make sure that money is going to where it's supposed to be going.
Okay, so as long as, my view is if the argument is clearly set out, then it should go as part of the standing orders. But I would caveat that the member of staff that does the releasing
Should not be the
activity should
RFO.
not be the RFO.
Yes, I agree.
And
And I think it, depending on
Yeah.
how the property manager feels about this, I think it should be 2 different staff members, so that if somebody's on holiday, it's not a problem.
I think it should be councillors.
2
Yes. I think.
councillors.
I'm comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
The issue is bank line, it's not the process.
Mm.
Sometimes it is the councillor's availability and the odd councillor not picking up the phone or whatever, even though they've been emailed. So that is there is an issue there, but I'm okay doing the release. We just probably need a stronger pool of people who are committed to doing what they're expected to do and are available.
Is it possible to have this pool in advance? Because, or is that just purely the mechanism we've had? Because it's always been like that. But are we confident we can actually have a pool of people?
Yeah, there's no reason why not.
There's no reason why not, because if you have a pool of about 5 or 6,
Mhm.
you know, roughly a third of the council, you should always be able to perm 1 person out there. I must say, I'm in agreement with the property manager. If you've got a pool of 5 or 6, I think you could, I prefer 2 councillors to sign it. No, I have no suggestion whatsoever about any impropriety, but I think given the where we are in the town and the legacies that we've got, I personally think it should be 2, but have a wider pool, be it 6, be it 8.
Yes, thank you. I'd be strongly in favour of a wider pool. I know it has been difficult in the past sometimes to get registered as an additional signature.
It
In
is
fact, I
absolute
more or
fair.
less gave up. But I have an open mind on the issue of whether it's a staff member or a councillor who signs, and maybe the financial regulations can set some sort of checks.
So, yeah, we listen to what people are saying and taking also the property manager's input. I don't think what we do now is too onerous. The issue, so the 2 issues I've got is we now have an RFO who actually tends to email and say you need to do it by close today, which does cause a challenge, whereas the previous RFO, I'm not saying that either is right or wrong, you've got to do it by next Thursday and it's Monday. So you had time. That's the first issue. The second issue is about councillors not making themselves available. And, and it's really frustrating when you authorise it yourself as a councillor and you find out the other councillor just couldn't be traced and it just gets all kicked out and we have to do it again. And that has happened more than once. So, yeah, I think it's incumbent on us, whoever is doing it, like Councillor Wiles does it, I do it, there's a couple of other councillors on the list. We just have to step up, don't we?
So are we thinking that having a staff member is not popular, and that having a pool of councillors and a review of the mandates in May and getting 6 councillors and putting them all on watch, as it were?
So what I'd like to know is who are the councillors currently listed and which of those is willing to do it as a proper commitment, because I do know in the past there was at least 1 councillor who particularly decided not to play ball.
which is not on.
No, it's not on for everybody, because, and actually it involves staff salaries.
Who's currently listed?
There's myself, Councillor Miles.
There are lots of people listed, but I
Yeah,
don't know if
and that's
they're all
my point.
active.
Yeah, that's
the
my
thing.
point. Get active councillors who are willing to do what's
I
asked.
think having 5 or 6 as a pool,
Yeah.
whoever's.
So what we're coming to is a review of them, a really
Yes.
thorough review of the mandates in May.
Because we've had a councillor saying, yeah, I've gone through the process, but it's not working.
So we'll just have to be really stubborn with NatWest and
Yeah.
keep going until
Yeah.
we can get it to work.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Was there anything to do on that?
Do you want to stick with the two councillors being nominated at meetings?
I think so, because then it's transparent and it just keeps people on their toes. They know that they're going to get contacted by the RFO in a matter of days. If they're just in a pool and may be contacted, I think there's a weakness there.
I'm just thinking I've not been part of it, so I'm speaking with ignorance here. But if you've got a pool of 6, between 6 and 8, you just put two people are available, rather than having to go through the rigmarole of nominating them, would be my suggestion.
Maybe we could put a clause in, we will nominate at meetings, but in extremis, we can contact.
A variation like that would be excellent, I think.
I think it would be worth saying it in the meeting who's going to be doing the next meeting, because if not, then if they're contacted remotely by the RFO and
You'll be practiced, I am not, so I'll be very good.
it's good to know that you can get
Well, we
contacted.
could say in extremis, others nominated, but this will be reported back at the next STC meeting. That would work, wouldn't it?
I share your concern about transparency, and I think it is important that all councillors know who is authorising payments. At the same time, I wonder if it couldn't be sorted out before the council meeting, rather than having to ask in a full council meeting who's available and.
I think all we need to do, if we flip it, you come to the meeting and saying, this month, the 2 councillors who are authorising are these 2.
Yes,
But
exactly.
that's transparent, it's detailed, and it's voted on.
Perfect.
Okay.
The issue is, of course, councillors suddenly say, I'm away on holiday.
I think because we can write standing orders to suit ourselves, we just have to do what we say. To me, it sounds like if we carry on with the process of nominating at meetings, but put a clause into the financial regulations that say, if these, force majeure, these councillors can't do it, others who are mandated may then release the thing. However, this must then be reported at the next STC
I'm
meeting.
comfortable with that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So that trail is there,
Yes.
but it gives, the in extremis flexibility.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah?
If we have a group of 5 or 6, do we have to say who is going to do it? Can so the RFO just not say, find whoever's available?
Well, that's
They're
what we
mandated to do it. On
The point was that then reduces transparency, because at the moment there's very clear, open, public view of who's doing it.
Otherwise, if you had problems with a particular member of staff, they might be going to their favourite councillor all the time, which
The
not.
one who
not-
asks fewest questions.
Possibly.
Whatever makes them a favourite.
Okay. Are you
That's
okay
good.
with that?
So that's the basis on which we'll draft the financial rates.
Great.
Great, thank you, that's really helpful.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to agenda item 9, budget reallocation. So for clarity, I'll just give a very quick overview of this, because I know there's lots of people beyond this meeting who've been very keen to prod at this one. So November's STC meeting clearly confirmed that we would contribute £2,000 from the STC budget to support the repairs of the wooden bridge. It's documented, it's noted. It's a discretionary payment which recognises the input of having a bridge reinstated for residents to use, and that was our argument, because we previously discussed it, we said we wouldn't provide a contribution because it wasn't our responsibility. At November's meeting, I said I was confident that the money could be found within the Mayor's funds, but we had to wait until we were invoiced for the work to actually decide where it was going to come from, and that's why it's here today. The invoice has arrived. DDC, because the town clerk did go quite rightly to DDC and say we would only pay £2,000. And they've now invoiced us. So having discussed this with the RFO, I propose that we can move the funds for the bridge works from the budget line 1004, which is the mayor's attendance line, and that's simply because this year I've made sure that the expense I incur against that is managed very tightly, and there is more than £2,000 that will be available at the end of the year. So £2,000 can come out of that budget line. So that's a proposal to vote on.
Firstly, can I thank you for devising a solution to the problem of mending the bridge. I get residents coming up to me saying, "The work's going on, the work's going on." I'm grateful for that solution and I fully support the proposal.
Well, I think we should thank the mayor for being frugal with his expenses and helping to create a situation in which 2,000.
It's not really frugal because as a percentage of our budget, it's a huge amount.
And that's why I was
compared to the
very
other two.
conscious of it. And ultimately, it's not mayor's money, it's residents' money, and that's why I've deliberately not used paid drivers to pay their salary and travel costs. So that's why that's money there, and that's why I've done it my way this year.
Will the mayor be opening the bridge?
We are just contributing. I don't think I'll get an opportunity to do that one.
Should do.
Yes. We're only a very small party in this much bigger cost.
But the crucial final key.
Well, but that's the key thing though, Councillor Black, is that the bridge was always going to get repaired. Whilst it was said somewhere else that actually we were a blocker, we were never a blocker because DDC made it very clear that they were going to do the work and they were actually going out and getting costings in and were doing the surveying work. It's just that they felt we should contribute to it.
It's their legal responsibility.
Exactly, and KCC's. Yeah. Okay, so I'm happy to propose that we move for £2,000. Somebody seconds,
I'll send it.
and we vote, so we're agreeing £2,000 from the 1,000 splash.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's pretty good. Final item, date and time, next meeting, Wednesday, the 11th of March, 26 at 6:30. Meeting closed.